Welcome back to Firepower. Tonight, we're diving into a political earthquake shaking the foundation of America's gun laws. What if one decision, one signature, could make your concealed carry permit valid in all 50 states? No more confusion, no more invisible borders, no more fear that crossing a state line turns you from a law-abiding citizen into a criminal. That moment, once unthinkable, may have finally arrived. In a move that's already being called the boldest gun rights action in decades, former President Donald Trump has thrown his weight behind a sweeping federal plan that could establish nationwide concealed carry reciprocity. Supporters say it's a long overdue recognition of the Second Amendment. Critics say it's a recipe for chaos. But make no mistake, the ground has shifted, and every gun owner in America needs to understand what's coming next. This is Firepower, where law, liberty, and firepower collide. If you want the truth about the laws that could redefine your right to carry, subscribe now, because what you're about to hear will change how you see the Second Amendment forever. Let's start with the problem that's existed for years. America's gun laws are a maze. 50 states, 50 sets of rules. In one state, you can carry concealed with a simple background check. In another, that same permit means nothing. Travelers who try to do everything right often find themselves caught in legal traps. One mistake, one traffic stop, and suddenly you're facing a felony charge for a firearm that's completely legal back home. The system is broken, and it's not just theory. Real people have paid the price. Take the case of Shanine Allen, a single mother from Pennsylvania who was pulled over in New Jersey and arrested for carrying her legally owned handgun. Her crime? Crossing a state line. Stories like hers aren't rare. They happen every year to people who thought they were following the law. And it's that inconsistency, that patchwork of local power, that Trump's latest push aims to end once and for all. At a rally that began like any other campaign stop, Trump dropped a political bombshell. Standing before a crowd of thousands, he announced full support for the National Concealed Carry Reciprocity Act, H.R. 38. The bill's idea is simple but revolutionary. If you're legally licensed to carry in your home state, your permit would be valid across the entire United States, just like a driver's license. No more fear when you travel. No more guessing which states recognize your rights and which don't. It would be a nationwide standard, one country, one rule. But let's be clear. H.R. 38 isn't just a line of legal text. It's a complete redefinition of what it means to exercise the right to bear arms. For millions of law-abiding gun owners, it means freedom of movement without fear of prosecution. For states like California, New York, and Illinois, it means losing the power to decide who carries within their borders. And that's exactly why the reaction has been explosive. Within hours, the political fault lines were drawn. Supporters cheered what they called the biggest win for the Second Amendment in modern history. Opponents warned that the federal government was about to trample on state sovereignty. In Washington, H.R. 38 sparked a debate that's already being compared to the original assault weapons ban. Republicans argue that constitutional rights don't end at state lines. Democrats counter that every state has the right to set its own standards for public safety. It's freedom versus control. And both sides are digging in. Now, to understand how we got here, we have to go back to the fundamentals of the fight. The Second Amendment guarantees the right to bear arms, but the 10th Amendment gives states the authority to enforce their own public safety laws. When those two collide, the courts are left to pick a winner, and H.R. 38 is about to force that confrontation on a national scale. In Congress, the House Judiciary Committee advanced the bill by a narrow margin, 18-9. Over 180 Republican lawmakers have signed on in support, but in the Senate, it faces fierce resistance. Blue state senators have already vowed to block it, calling the proposal a danger to public safety. Yet even they admit public pressure is building. Gun owners across the country see this as a chance to finally unify the law, and politically, that pressure matters. So what does H.R. 38 actually do? Here's the breakdown. If you have a valid concealed carry permit in your home state, it would be recognized in every other state. You'd still have to follow local restrictions on where you can carry. Schools, federal buildings, and private property rules wouldn't change, but your right to carry across state lines would finally be protected. The bill also shields permit holders from wrongful arrest if they can show proof of their license. It sounds simple, but its impact would be seismic. It would erase the invisible walls that divide the map and turn 50 separate systems into one national standard. Supporters argue that this is common sense. Concealed carry permit holders are among the most law-abiding citizens in the nation. They undergo background checks, safety training, and in many cases, psychological screening. According to federal crime data, permit holders commit fewer crimes per capita than even law enforcement officers. So why should their rights vanish when they travel? As one lawmaker put it, if your driver's license works in every state, your right to self-defense should too. And that's the emotional core of the argument: equality. A constitutional right shouldn't depend on your ZIP code, but the opposition is fierce. Critics warn that national reciprocity could undermine the ability of states with strict standards to control who carries in public. A person denied a permit in California, for instance, could simply obtain one in Utah and legally carry within California under H.R. 38. Gun control groups like Everytown for Gun Safety and the Brady campaign call it a race to the bottom. They argue that the bill could open the door for untrained or unvetted individuals to carry firearms in densely populated cities where local laws are designed to prevent exactly that. Law enforcement agencies in blue states have voiced another concern: verification. Police officers say it's nearly impossible to check out-of-state permits in real time. Without a national database, they fear confusion on the street could lead to mistakes, false arrests, or worse. The debate has spilled far beyond Capitol Hill. Legal scholars warn that H.R. 38 could trigger a wave of constitutional litigation. If passed, states will almost certainly sue, claiming federal overreach under the 10th Amendment. The Department of Justice may have to step in to enforce the law or to defend it, depending on who holds power in Washington. Still, for all the noise, one truth stands out. America's gun map is already changing. Even without H.R. 38, many states are striking reciprocity deals on their own, creating regional blocks of mutual recognition. But this bill would make it uniform, permanent, and nationwide. Let's imagine what happens if H.R. 38 becomes law. A gun owner in Texas could drive coast to coast without fear of arrest. Travelers, truckers, and business owners who cross multiple states each week would finally have clarity. Police would need new training and clear systems to verify permits quickly. And politically, the shift could redefine how the Second Amendment is understood for generations. If it fails, expect executive action. Trump and his allies have hinted at pushing reciprocity through regulatory channels or state partnerships. Either way, this movement is not slowing down. Now let's step back for a moment. This debate isn't just about politics or policy. It's about principle. The right to self-defense is as old as civilization itself. And yet, in America, that right has been sliced into 50 different interpretations, 50 different ways to decide whether your freedom travels with you. So we ask again, should your constitutional right depend on where you stand? Or should the Second Amendment mean the same thing from coast to coast? Firepower has always believed that with freedom comes responsibility. The right to carry doesn't erase the duty to train, to act safely, and to respect the law. Reciprocity is not a free pass. It's a test of trust between citizens and their government. And how that trust is handled will define the next era of American gun rights. As we close, remember this. No matter what side of the debate you're on, something historic is happening. H.R. 38 isn't just another bill. It's a national referendum on what the Second Amendment means in the modern world. For some, it's liberation. For others, it's a step too far. But for everyone, it's a moment that demands attention. So what do you think? Is nationwide reciprocity the freedom America needs, or a risk the country can't afford? Let us know in the comments below. The conversation doesn't end here, it starts with you. This is Firepower, where truth hits harder than any headline. Stay informed, stay sharp, and stay free. Subscribe now and join us for our next deep dive into the laws, the politics, and the power shaping America's future. Because when freedom and firepower collide, the story doesn't end, it explodes.